This podcast is brought to you by lillibadcock.com and the Confidence Academy, giving you the confidence to be who you truly are. This is the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lilli Badcock, and I am a transformational confidence coach, and I'm here with a message for you. The anxiety and overwhelm you've been experiencing is not something to be feared or avoided. It's also not something that gets to define who you are as a person. No matter who you are, no matter what your story is, I know that you get to live a life of fulfillment and joy. It's my absolute pleasure to bring this podcast series to you in collaboration with some phenomenal people from all over the world who have walked the same path as you. Together, we will share our stories, our challenges, and our triumphs, with the intention of helping you to see that it's possible for you too. Anxiety may be something you live with, but it doesn't get to define who you are or how you live your life. So stand by for some powerful conversations, deep realizations, and the occasional F-bomb. So get those headphones in if you're around sensitive ears, and stand by. This is going to be fun.
Well, hello there, you beautiful humans. God bless you for coming back for another episode of the Confidence Academy podcast. And man, oh man, is it a banger today. Allow me to introduce you to the ridiculously gorgeous Whitney Alexandra as we talk all things epic transformation. This is the episode for you if you've been thinking there's an area of your own life that you'd like to change. As always, I'd love to hear your comments and questions around this episode, so do please reach out to me using the links in the show notes. And don't forget, you can join me live every Thursday at 8 p.m. GMT on Facebook and YouTube. I'll be joined this week by Whitney, and as usual, we'll be taking your questions, so use the links in the show notes to submit your questions and comments now. And don't forget, you can now tag me and my guests into your posts over in the Confidence Academy Facebook group, so I'll look forward to seeing you over there. But for now, sit back, relax, and snuggle under your favourite blanket and hug that mug of hot chocolate and enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And do I have a treat for you tonight? It's not that often I get someone on my podcast that I can say I know. And if this had been even 2 months ago, then I wouldn't have known this person. But I've actually had the privilege of getting to know her over the last, what are we now, 6-7 weeks together? Mm-hmm. And it's just been phenomenal. And it was funny because recently she just said, oh, anytime you want to get me on the podcast would be fine. And I was like, oh, crap, that's definitely something we should do. So I'm so excited to introduce you all to Whitney Alexandra. Whitney, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. I am so delighted to be here with you too. And like you said, it's an equal delight on my side, getting to know you.
Yeah, it's like we're fangirling in all directions here. It's amazing. So Whitney and I were just having that conversation before we went live about what she would call herself. And obviously her name is Whitney, but we were saying, do you have a title? And like so many people that are coming on this show now, we decided that titles are just a bit overrated. So Whitney, I'm gonna pass to you and let all of the listeners know who you are and all the wonderful things that you do.
Lovely. So I call myself, I think most recently, a transformation coach. So I sort of slide between some life coaching, some business coaching. I am super passionate about helping female entrepreneurs. So whether it is about life or business, or some mindset, it's usually a combination of all three that we work on, and usually none of the things that we thought we'd work on. So I think transformation coach is probably the most accurate.
Yeah, and I love that. And it's true as well. So for those listening, I just alluded to it at the start, but I've been in Whitney's fantastic mastermind, which is called Momentum. And I shared last week, actually, that I'm already getting that feeling that I get towards the end of a really good holiday, where I start to get sad that I've got to go home. And I know that we've only got a couple of weeks of this mastermind left. And it's, the content of the mastermind itself has been phenomenal and has been so helpful. And I'm still actually working through a lot of what you've shared. But, for me, the thing I've really treasured is
the connection to the group each week, knowing that I'm going to come on and we're all going to be together, and it's such a safe space, and it's a really expansive space at the same time. And like right from the off, you know, the first call, you sort of said, wow, we've got this amazing group of women, and we've, you know, with all different skill sets. And I've just really loved, I'm such a girl's girl. I'm such a people person. And in a year where I've just been completely cut off from my choir and haven't really seen many people at all, to know that I could come on each week and be in that community. And it's a small community as well. I'm in a lot of big communities with thousands, and this is such a different vibe. It feels very personal. I feel like I know all these women personally now, even though we've never met in person. And it's just really driven home to me the power of a really good community. So here in public on the podcast, just thank you for having me in there. It's just been, and I know we've still got time left. I'm not writing it off yet, but you know, it's just been really, really amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, I'm so delighted to hear you say that. It is such a magical experience every week that we come together. And it was like something that I had never felt before, like that sort of the lead up, like you've always got sort of nervous energy as you have a new group of people coming together and really wondering like, how is the group going to jive, and where will there be some natural like cohesion and some natural friction, and like all in the spirit of growth, obviously. But this has been the most powerful experience, I think, to be leading this small group of women, have them, you know, really, like you said, be vulnerable and share openly. Like I've never had an experience like that previously, where I've had a group of women that felt so comfortable sharing and personal stuff, opening up about finances, opening up about, you know, personal situations, tears, right? And I mean, sometimes there are tears of joy, as you know, but it's really just a beautiful thing where the energy is so different from week to week. But at the same time, we're working on our business. And so it kind of comes back to some of that transformation work that we've been talking about, where like you're sort of rebuilding the insides, and there's a ton of these small little shifts that lead to something really big.
Yeah,
magic.
I totally feel that. Yeah, it is magic. And do you know, even how I came to be in this mastermind is pure magic. And I really want to go there because, you know, this podcast has touched a lot on, you know, feelings of anxiety, depression. It was the reason I started it, was because I was, you know, dealing with anxiety, and it's still something that I deal with from time to time, of course. But over the years, it's really evolved into a spiritual podcast, and it's become very much about my spiritual journey. And again, we were chatting just before we went live about the power of energy and the power of decision and the power of just, you know, when you just choose not to be afraid anymore, because, you know, and I know anxiety and fear are not always the same thing, but I'm just saying that there are many things that can cause anxiety, that can trigger anxiety, and that always comes back to fear, for me anyway. And truly, like the sequence of events that led to us even meeting are just mind-blowing. Like, you know, I think I just did a live stream in a Facebook group that we're both part of, and it was on one of those days where I really didn't want to do it, and, you know, I just really wasn't feeling it, but something made me do it anyway. And I thought, I'm just going to go on, I'm just going to offer these intuitive readings. And off the back of that, I was gifted an astrology reading, which I've never had. You know, I've never had one before. Had that reading, and it was so powerful. And literally, I can't remember the time frame, but it must have been like the next day or the day after that. I just happened to see your post in the same group going, oh, I'm doing this mastermind, you know, like, comment below if you're interested in information, blah, blah, blah. And something just made me go, yeah, I'll put my name down, you know, like that sounds like a blast. And it's just how it's all come together. And it for me, it's just really solidified that belief that
it was something I always hoped was true. You know, when you read these stories of manifestation and you hear these, you know, stories about people going, oh, you know, this check turned up in the mail, or I manifested my dream house and blah, blah, blah. I've always wanted to believe those stories because it just sounds cool, right? It sounds great. But the human in me, and I'm sure in a lot of people, has always gone, really though? Like, really? But to be fair, like that group we're both in, it's called B School, I'll name it. You know, it's a brilliant community. Even that, you know, 2015, I think it was when I wanted to join B School. I'd been really at a crossroads, really feeling very lost. I was poorly. I think I had the flu or something. So it was one of those things where my body didn't want to play, but my mind was still firing. And I was sat in one of these chairs that I'm sat in right now, and I had my laptop, and it was all I could do. And I just started to evaluate everything about my life. And I was like, you know, I like this, but I don't like that so much. And this feels aligned and that doesn't. And I started to go down this rabbit hole, and I started to read up a little bit about, you know, the power of mindset work and neural pathways and how that worked. And then I stumbled on Marie Forleo and immediately was like, that sounds amazing. There's no way I could afford it though. I mean, it was a $2,000 program. I think it might even be a bit more now. But she was popping up everywhere, which, I mean, she's just such a lesson in how to launch a product, right? Because everywhere I went, she was like, ta-da, like, do my program. And in the end, I was like, well, you know, if I could pay in bits, I could probably manage it. And I emailed them. I'd missed all of the announcements about the fact that you could pay in installments, and I'd completely missed the thing about scholarships. So I emailed and was like, you know, could I do a payment plan? And they were like, sure, we can offer you, I think it was a 4 or 5 part payment plan. I literally had just about that amount of money in my account at the time. I can't remember what it was. It was a few $100 maybe. And I was like, oh, don't know what to do. And I ummed and I ahed and I ummed and I ahed. And then I set an intention one night, and I was like, I just want to know that it's right, if it's right. So just let me wake up at, you know, whenever it's going to be, and know that that's the right thing to do. And I didn't wake up the next day like that. It took a few days, but on the Friday of that week, I just woke up and was like, I'm signing up today. I just knew I was going to do it. And I went to my favorite coffee shop, and I hit the button, and I literally let out a little noise when I did it. And I think everyone thought I was nuts. And but that was all my money. Like, I could literally barely afford the hot chocolate that I'd bought while I signed up. But I got covered in goosebumps, and I just felt like I'd done something really significant. I was like, I just feel like I've just done something really significant. And I mean, later that day, almost the same amount of money landed back in my account unexpectedly. And it turned out somebody had paid me for a singing gig that I wasn't doing for another 6 months, which has never happened since, never happened before. And that was the first time I was like, oh my God, this sort of stuff really happens. So that's a very long-winded way of me getting back to what is it that's driven you to do the work you do? Because obviously I've been in this mastermind, which was very business focused, but I've seen from day one that you're very spiritual, you're very much on the mindset train. In fact, almost every week, no matter what the topic has been, you're always like, don't forget the mindset. It's like, you know, it's an ongoing thing. So I would love to know what's led you to do this work. Like, how did you first come across it? You know, what did you have to, was there something you had to heal or shift out of to get here? I just want to know the story.
I think for me, like, I have always been just obsessed with, you know, rediscovering yourself and reimagining your future, and, you know, this ability to sort of transform into anything. So like when I was little, I had people that would ask, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I told them all types of things. I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to be a lawyer, right? I'm going to be a police officer. They got like the full spectrum of things. And, you know, funny enough, as it happened, like, you know, I think by the time I was in my mid 20s, I had already been an artist. I had already been an actor. I had like multiple careers. And so what I really learned through a lot of that personal transformation work is that it's quite easy to shift. And So I think that's where like a lot of my coaching comes from, is like, we can make a plan for anything. Like, you just need to tell me what it is that you want to do. And I think, because I was so interested in some of that transformation work, I started to study more around business and more like advisory and consulting and things like that. But it was like very corporation focused. How do big companies transform? So when somebody thinks something terrible about you, as an example, or you just want to expand from being a company that only did A to a company that's going to do A to Z, you need a different brand that goes along with that. And so what I really found the parallel in is that, if you can help a big company transform like that, then you can help anybody do anything. Because so much of it is like the culture side and setting up a roadmap. But it, again, goes back to like, it's just small little shifts. And you start to realize that you end up in an entirely different place just by making small changes.
Yoo-hoo! It's time for a quick break, and I wanted to make sure you knew that our brand new Facebook group is now live. The Confidence Academy podcast Facebook group exists so that you can get yourself amongst like-minded people who are committed to living their best lives. I'm in the group every single day answering questions and connecting with the amazing members that we already have in there. And of course, every Thursday, I go live with the guest of the week so that we can take your questions and actually get you the help you want and need. The group is completely free and it's open now, so click the link in the show notes and get yourself in there. Make sure you say hey once you get in so we can shower you with love. Okay, that's all for now. Back to the episode.
Yeah,
Incredible.
100%. Yeah, completely. And the thing I loved about even just that answer, but obviously I've been in your energy as well and I've seen this before, is your absolute certainty and belief that that's possible. And that's what I just love. Like the minute I got into that mastermind, and to me, my goals were so huge. And I was like, God, check me out with my massive goals. And you didn't even blink. You were just like, yeah. I mean, you were like, if anything, you're probably stringing that out a bit far. Like, it doesn't even need to take that long. You could have that nailed in this many weeks. And I was like, yes, that's what I love. I love that because I think that I am that sort of person. But it's hard. It's sometimes hard to show up for yourself that way, even if you would show up for the rest of the world that way.
It's true. Like, we put so many barriers in front of ourselves to our own success. Like, we're so quick to say, I really want to do this thing. It's the most important thing. And then we put up a bunch of obstacles. Like, I got to go do, these 5 things before I can actually do this one. And I think a lot of where my business mind comes into is like, no, forget about those 4 things. We'll just do that one. Like, if that's the goal, which is why I'm always really focused on tell me what the goal is. And once we land on the goal, then we'll figure out what the plan to get there is. Because it doesn't need to be so complicated. It should be easy and fun.
You're so right. Yeah, you're so right. And the thing I find funny is, and I'm sure so many people find, in fact, I know this is true because so many people say this to me, where they'll say something along the lines of, oh, I'm really great at telling other people what to do, and then I don't do it for myself. And I just think this is something that we are all, it's just something that we're all guilty of. I just have to give full disclosure and tell you that my 9-year-old, who should be asleep, is tickling my feet. Lilli, what do you want? Well, you have to get it yourself, my love.
Okay,
I can't.
I'll drink at the tap.
Awesome. Good. The child never sleeps. But yeah, so I think it's a common thing. And I know for a long time for me, I felt like, I suppose, a bit of a failure that I could do this so well for other people and that I couldn't do it for myself. And even a couple of years ago, the idea of coming into a mastermind or any group of people and being vulnerable and saying, I can't do this, or I feel stuck here, or whatever, would have rattled me. In fact, I'm probably not even being truthful there. Probably even at the start of this year, I would have struggled with that because as much as I love to be in group situations, something I've noticed about myself, and this is one of my superpowers, I think, is I can be really insightful. I've learned to be really insightful around my own behaviors. And I noticed about myself that I would put myself I was never afraid to put myself in the room. I was never afraid to put myself at the table with the big hitters, with the big players, with the people that were doing what I wanted to do. But where I always let myself down was I then didn't allow myself to come as I was. I would always
Mm.
put a mask up and try and impress people. And, you know, I even noticed in Facebook groups that were meant to be helping me, I would never allow myself to get the help because I was too busy trying to convince everyone that I had all my shit together. And I think now I've seen that in myself, and I've hopefully stopped doing that a bit more. I now see so many people doing that. And I think how many of us are wandering around in life, on the internet, wherever, with these shiny masks up, going, yes, got it all
Yeah,
together over here. And really just
exactly.
going, oh, like I've got nothing all together,
Yeah.
you know?
Like it's that Instagram culture that makes people feel like I have to have it all together. And
Yes.
the reality is like nobody has their shit figured out.
No, literally no one.
Yeah.
It's so funny, but we all do it. I actually was updating my Instagram the other day, and I was going through my pictures, and normally I will try and find a nice looking selfie and then I'll put a filter on it and all of this. And I just caught myself doing that and was like, no, do you know what? I'm going to pick this one that where my hair wasn't washed, I had no makeup on, and I'm pulling a ridiculous face, because I was like, that's everything I stand for. Why would my Instagram need to be so polished and make me look like, you know, a shiny like model or something? Because that's not me. Like anyone that knows me will tell you that's not me. I live in my jeans and t-shirts. I rarely have makeup on my face, you know, unless I really have to. And I love makeup, but I'm not one of those people in real life that ever feels like she has to put her face on. And so I was like, well, then why am I doing it on social media? Like, I still don't feel like I need to put my face on. Like,
Yeah.
it's my face. It is what it is. Like, you know, I've had it my whole life. I quite like it. So have it, you know?
It's a great
So
face.
it's a great face. It's a very
Yeah.
happy face, you know? It's a happy face.
That's so
So
true
yeah,
though. Like people see the joy, right? Like
yeah.
makeup, no makeup, the most beautiful woman. If there's no joy there, you see that.
That's true. Yeah, I had this recently actually. I was doing my now I'm becoming known for this, my downloads I get when I'm doing washing up.
Yeah.
But I was doing the washing up and I was thinking about, I can't remember who I was thinking about. It might have been Gabrielle Bernstein. I was listening to a coach at the time, and my mind, you know how it goes, your mind starts to wander. And I started to think about Gabrielle Bernstein, and I was like, she's always so calm and zen. Like she always is so and you know, I just love her energy. It's always so calming. And I realized that over the years, I've been drawn to a lot of people like that. And then I've always in the back of my mind felt like I'm not like that. You know, I'm really like, like nuts off the chain and definitely not calm, not peaceful in any way. And then I started to tell myself, you know, then they're proper spiritual people. You can't be a proper spiritual person because you're loud and crazy. And as I was doing this washing up, I was like, nah, that's just their language. My language is joy. My language is shenanigans. I mean, you picked up on it. The
Yeah.
minute I got in your mastermind, you were like, that's a giggler. And that's what all my school reports used to say as well. Like, she always giggles.
Yeah, that's what I
just,
loved about you. You left me that voice note on
yeah,
Facebook, and it was just laughter, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
there were no words. It was just laughter. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'm glad to have her here.
Yeah, and that's that was the first time, and that was only recently, but I had that, and I was like, oh my god. And then I felt like I was getting like a bit of a download, and I was like, oh, there are different warriors look different ways. And I thought to myself, I actually thought I was going to come up with 5, but 5's my favorite number, so maybe that's why. But I actually only came up with 3, and I thought you're either a warrior of strength, a warrior of peace, or a warrior of joy. And what that means is your main language, the way that you communicate with the world, the way that you are, is the way that you lead with. Like, I can obviously be peaceful occasionally at times. I can definitely be strong, like I've proven that, but joy is my language. And I just think we all fit into one of those things. And furthermore, I feel like we are then drawn to the people that tick the other boxes. and it becomes this collaboration. And that's another reason why I've loved this mastermind, this group that I've been in. And it was very, very spiritual for me as well, because when I had my awakening 2 years ago, I got a very clear vision of there being a collective. It was made very clear to me that yes, you have an important mission, but you're not the only one. Like, don't go thinking you're special. Don't go thinking you're like some trailblazer all on your own. You're part of a collective, and they're all over the world. And it's really been a journey for me over the last couple of years to find these people. And something has amped up this year. You know, I mean, it was easy to find them, really. It was almost like the veil was lifted, because while the world was losing its shit about the global pandemic, the people from the pod, which is what I call it, were like, yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. It's cool. Like, it's fine. We'll just crack on, you know? And it was suddenly very clear for me to go, oh, you're one of these. You're one of these. And I've just had the pleasure of connecting with so many through this podcast. And, you know, again, just like things that I'd set up years ago with no idea that that's what it was going to be. But it's led to this. It's led to this collaboration. And I definitely feel that about our group. And you said it, you called it on the first night. You were like, holy moly, the power in this group is insane. Off the charts.
Like, I gave myself a headache for 2 days. It was such a powerful session, and there was so much energy in that group that I thought, I cannot do this every week. Right? We've got to have some sort of you know, like you were talking about that balance. We've got to have some balance so that it's not all fire, right? Yeah. There's some magic, there's some fire, there's some, you know, a nice balance between all.
An actual strategy as well, because as someone I'm very much woohoo, like, you know, head in the clouds, and I would literally, I could have zero money in my account and be like, it'll come, you know. It drives my husband mad, because when there is actually something to panic about, I'm the least panicky person. This is why I thought it was so funny when the doctor said I had anxiety. I was like, are you kidding? I'm the least anxious person I know. Like, my house could be burning down around my ears and I'd be like, oh, like, we'll just find a way out. I just tend to panic about things that don't matter at all. But when something's really important, I'm just like, meh, we'll deal with it. But yeah, I'm really interested to know on your side, because you strike me as someone, you're clearly spiritual, you clearly have that background, but you've also got so much of that strategy about you. And this is where I have certainly struggled, and I know a lot of kind of woo-woo people struggle. But what I'm seeing, and I've said it so many times already on this podcast, is there seems to be this uprising of a wave of new change makers who are exactly split down the middle. Like, they're as spiritual as they are practical. And so I'd love to hear from you on your path and what that's looked like. Have you always been spiritual? Did something happen? Or, you know, how has that fed in for you?
I've always been like deeply spiritual, but I would say there is only a moment in time where I have stepped out of the closet and really like opened up and shared about those things, right? Like I can remember being 6 or 7 and knowing that I was different, and knowing that the things I was seeing and the people I was meeting were not like the regular scene. And that theme has continued throughout my life, where, you know, it's a knowing and a seeing and a feeling, and it's all of the things. And I think, you know, where I've really tried to rest my intuition is like, sure, I've got this business acumen, but I also trust my gut, right? Yeah. I trust that like everything. And so I think it's, you know, getting to a place for your own business or for your own decision where you're saying like, sure, this is a solid strategy, but how do I feel about it? And really like trying to tap into your intuition. Like for me, whenever I'm meeting people, that is purely intuition, right? That I am pulling towards them, or they are pulling towards me. I'm choosing them where I am based on the feeling, right? Or not choosing them based on a feeling. And it's not to say it's good energy or bad energy, but it may just be like, what is the right energy for like a group of people? So, you know, having a nice balance, like you were talking about, I think is so important. But yeah, I think both have led me to like equally satisfying places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, on that subject, it's amazing to me how many people I'm seeing that are like that actually always had that about them. And I think I probably put myself in that category because, you know, I was raised in a Christian family, so I always had sort of, you know, religious conversations, which I don't necessarily put in the same bracket as spiritual all of the time. But I came away from that and I really feel like I had to find my own path. But it's funny that you said about coming out of the closet, because I know when I had this awakening, I was very clearly told, you're intuitive. And of course, we're all intuitive. But I was told, like, this is how you're going to help people. You can intuitively guide people back to their purpose. Like, you're here for those people. You're supposed to help them find their way. And I literally said out loud, well, it's not like I'm going to go around on Facebook telling people I'm intuitive. And I heard the reply going, that's exactly what you're going to do. Yeah. Like, who do you think you are? Like, what do you think you're doing down there? And it's just, you know, it's just been so amazing. And I think, you know, I love that there really are these people coming forward. And I think the magic in that is where people would have missed it before because it was too out there, too woo-woo, nothing tangible to hold on to, nothing practical. Now we're hearing from doctors, lawyers, you know, people with PhDs and people that have like been to school for years and years and who people, they just trust it because that's what they've been, you know, brought up to believe. And now those people are going, yeah, no, of course. And actually, you know, you saying that you trust your gut, that's actually what you hear all successful business people talk about. Is like they all have that ability to trust their gut. And, you know, I've definitely not always trusted mine. And 100% of the time I've fallen flat on my face whenever I've decided to go against it. And, you know, and I kind of think that, you know, okay, I went against my gut, but then I also think there's always a reason why, like, you know, and for that reason, I don't feel like we are ever in the wrong place.
No.
But I think we can definitely miss, it's like I was talking to earlier, you know, we can definitely miss things by sticking our head in the sand and not being willing to look at it or not wanting to look at it. Or trying
it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, because we have this belief that it has to be hard. I think I've shared this before, but, you know, there was this whole wave of, it was in the online space mainly where I saw it, of stories of transformation, which were hugely inspiring and exciting. However, every single one of them started with something. Well, actually, it usually was, oh, I had everything going for me. It was all going well. And then, boom, something terrible happened. And I've clawed my way back to the top. And so while that's exciting, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, right, so I've really got to struggle before I get to have the goodies, you know, before I get to win. Like I have to, or I'm not a proper human being. Like, who am I just to click my fingers and get what I want? You know, I think we all struggle with that.
Absolutely. Like you hit the nail on the head. Like we absolutely have this culture of like, I need to have a comeback story and have gone to the depths of the valley of doom. And, you know, upon rising, here's this magical story. And it doesn't need to be like that. Like, you know, we all have so many like lessons and gifts to share, and you don't have to go through or put yourself through more than you need to.
100%. And I want to like pick up on that for a second, because when you said that, I was thinking, oh, it's just the X Factor or like, you know, talent show kind of culture, isn't it? Because, you know, they're always like, oh, you know, here's the sad story, and oh, but look, they're an amazing singer, let's put them through. And I've been to those auditions. I can categorically tell you that when you go to an audition for any of those shows, you have to fill out like reams and reams of paper, and they dig and dig and dig. They want to know, like, how did you really fall flat on your face? Like, you know, why is your life terrible?
how can we like turn it around? And I just think, you know, for people listening to this, because for so many of you, you're still facing the anxiety, you're still living with that anxiety, you're still living with the depression, or, you know, whatever your thing is. And I'm going to blow your minds right now, and I really want you to listen, because this might be triggering, but I'm going to share it anyway, because that's my job. I realized after doing a lot of kind of inner work that the main reason I wasn't shifting the anxiety or overcoming it or breaking out of my struggle cycle was because I was completely attached to it, from that belief that I wasn't worthy of all the dreams in my heart if I didn't suffer first. And I'd go even further than that and say, I even believed that I would be of no value to anybody else if I didn't struggle first, you know?
Wow.
And I think even though I know that that's not true, I know I still believe that on some level as well, because I noticed recently when I was writing my posts that I was always going, oh, like, poor me, but look, I'm surviving and you can too. And I was like, what happened? Like, I wasn't always like that, you know, as a child, and well into my, God, what would it have been? Well into my 20s, actually. I lived in what I would call my bubble. Like, I just thought the world was brilliant. I just thought the world was easy. And I know that's not the case for everybody. And I know that I'm blessed. But I actually started to feel bad for that, because then when I got older and I learned that, oh my God, people have really hard lives, I started to feel bad that I hadn't had a hard life. So when I got something like anxiety, I ran with it. I was like, that's my struggle. Like, at last, I've got something to like that I get to overcome. And it's like, Jesus, you know, if you've got desires in your heart, they're there for a purpose. They're yours already. You were born worthy of those. The struggle was never necessary. And that's what triggers people, because so many people are addicted to their struggle. So many people are so attached to it. They don't know who they'd be without it. And that was the turning point for me in a journaling session when I was doing this exercise that I always tell people to do, where I say you write out the thing that you most want. And then once you've written it out in all the detail you can, you then have to do part 2, which is, why would I not allow this? And of course, initially you just think, well, I would allow it. It's what I want. But actually, if you keep asking yourself, no, really, why would I not allow this? You'll start to dig into the exact reasons why you're not allowing it. If you don't have what you want yet, it's because on some level, you don't think you can have it. You don't believe you're worthy of it or whatever. And I was doing that exercise and I actually wrote the line, I don't know who I am if I'm not struggling. I don't know who I am if I've got no money. And I don't know who I am if I'm not anxious. Like, who am I if I'm not that person? So there's always a payoff, isn't there? There's always a payoff. Like, there's a reason why we keep ourselves stuck. That even if it feels crap, we believe on some level that it's in some way serving us, whatever that looks like.
Well, it keeps us safe in some way, right? Having that identity is safer than exploring out into the unknown, right? And like, for me, I get to a point where I know that I am stepping outside of my comfort zone, right? And I can feel it. And for me, it manifests in my body like I am ready to puke, right? And so, and I know it's a terrible idea, but like, some people get angry, some people get sick, some people, you know, are dealing with other circumstances. But for me, I get to a place where I think, like, I feel nauseous. And what I started to realize is, like, the way that change manifests in my body, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's all going to feel the same. And so I just need to go with my own intuition. It's like, is this the right move? And is this the right thing? And because I know now that it's actually my intuition holding me back, or it's my body holding me back, but my intuition trying to pull me forward into having this great new experience. And so what I've realized is that, like, my life actually begins on the other side of the barf line, right? I just take that one step and I'm willing to commit, then everything else falls into place. Right. And it's been so powerful, but like, I'll tell you, a little uncomfortable in the beginning.
Yeah, that's such a good point. We put so much weight behind our feelings. And I'm not saying your feelings don't matter before anyone writes in and complains about that. I'm not saying that. Obviously, your feelings matter, but we put so much weight behind, if you're having a wobble day, what I would call a wobble day, the chances are at some point you're going to go, oh, I know I should put that playlist on that's going to cheer me up, or I know that I should take that shower, or I know that I should go for a walk. I don't feel like it. And I'm saying it doesn't matter what you feel like. Do what you know works for you, right? Do yourself a favor. Stop giving in to how you feel and really tune into what you know, because that's intuition. Intuition isn't a feeling, it's a knowing. It's a knowing in your gut. And nobody said you were supposed to come through life and not feel a bit afraid sometimes. And, sometimes the best things you do are going to be the things that feel absolutely terrifying. I obviously work a lot with performers and singers, and they all say the same thing. When they eventually get over that fear and they step on that stage, the fear doesn't completely go away, but the overriding emotion is no longer fear, it's excitement and elation. It's, I think some people talk about roller coasters in the same way. Not me, I hate them. But, people get terrified to ride a roller coaster. Although I will say, if you can get me on one, I usually do enjoy it, It's just quite rare that you'll get me on one. I've lost many friends. There are so many friends I've got in my life that now refuse to go to theme parks with me because I'm so embarrassing on rides. Because I scream and cry before it's even gone anywhere, and I start like rattling the thing going, I've got to get off. I get like proper panicky. It's a control thing, I think. It's so good. So anyway, well, I mean, we could carry on chatting, Whitney, but we have a mastermind to get to.
We do. We have a mastermind to get to. So yes, very exciting.
So we're going to have to wrap up. So Whitney, just before you go, tell all the listeners about this mastermind, just in case there's anybody listening that feels like they might want to get in the energy. And I'm going to say straight off, I'm already jealous of you if you're getting into this, because I don't want my experience to be over. But whatever, if you're going to be the next one, then I guess I'm happy for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, send all the people and come back to us soon, Lilli. But as far as the mastermind goes, we've got a new one that's going to start up in January. So we're focused now on a lot of planning for the new year. Like you've already heard, I'm such a planner at heart. It's so important. So that'll be 12 weeks, and you can go to my site to find out more.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll put a link in the show notes to that. But, just on a personal note, I highly recommend that you check that out. And again, use your intuition. You will know already if you have resonated with Whitney. You'll have heard her speak. If something, it doesn't matter if you feel afraid. It doesn't matter if you're thinking, oh, I don't know, like that's normal. But if something deeper than that is telling you that this might be for you, then just click the link. Like nothing's going to happen if you just click the link, right? You'll know it's for you. Go check it out. It's just been such a magical experience. It continues to be a magical experience because it's not over yet. Although it might be over if we don't let ourselves get to the call, because they'll all be wondering where we are.
That's right.
Oh, thank you so much, Whitney. It's been so much fun. And everybody listening, I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from more of you. Some of you have started to be brave and you've started to message me. And I say it every week, but you guys are making my entire life with these messages. So please keep them coming. Even just the email to go, hey, Lilli, how you doing? I love it. And I read them all myself. There is no team over here. It is just me. So send your emails. Let me know what you thought of the episode. If you've got any questions, especially, let us know. And if you loved it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and send it to everybody you know so that they can have a bit of this in their life as well. Whitney, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. So much fun.
So much fun. And to everyone listening, remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. I'll be back again very soon. Lots of love.
And that's a wrap. My heartfelt thanks and deep gratitude to Whitney Alexandra for being my guest this week and for bringing the fire, as always. Do please check out the links in the show notes if you'd like to connect with Whitney further. And of course, I'd love to know what you thought of this episode, so do please reach out with your questions and comments using the links in the show notes. I'll be back again next week with another incredible guest, and of course I'll be live on Thursday over on YouTube and in our Facebook group for TCA Live, where Whitney will be joining me for a live Q&A. So get your questions in and join us if you can. If you love the podcast and would like more support as you step into that life you've been dreaming of, then the Confidence Academy podcast Facebook group is the place to be. The link is in the show notes along with everything else we mentioned in the episode. In the meantime, have a wonderful week, whatever you're doing, and look after yourselves. Massive love.